Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be taking a look at my top 10 worst rated games that are actually in the SideGame library. So as part of this whole business plan in this company, our job is to provide games for all sorts of people. And sometimes those tastes are not going to directly align with my tastes. And that's okay. Some people like games for different reasons. So with that being said, let's take a look at the games that I don't really like that are in the library that others might really like. Let's go ahead and get started with number 10. So number 10 is the third, actually it's part of a trilogy. So it's the second part of this trilogy, and that is Century, and this is specifically Eastern Wonders. So we do keep all of our Century games in the same box. They fit really nicely inside, but Century Eastern Wonders is the second of these, and I think it's the weakest. So in this organization, I keep Century in its own little compartment here, and that's going to be this little wood piece. And inside we have all of the player pieces for the different little houses and trade stations. We've got the tiles that make up the map board. So you got nice little tiles in here. And this game is pretty straightforward in how it plays. So the reason I don't like it is I think it's a little simple and a little boring. You're going to be running around on a map here, doing trade routes and just going back and forth, really just kind of doing the same thing and going the same paths. You're not really changing up what you're doing. The board is laid out from turn one, so you're not really building anything as you play, and there's no real tactical feeling to this game. It's all strategic. The biggest thing that changes is there's a place where you can drop off objectives. That changes every so often. You're not allowed to drop off an objective there. So very straightforward, and that's really why I just don't think it's that exciting. So some people might like it because it is very simple to play. It has an upgrade system where you can kind of customize your own boat as you play, and those tiles do change every so often. When you set up the game, you'll have a different layout each time you play. So that might be a reason that you enjoy this game. But the reason that I keep it around, honestly, is because it's part of the trilogy. So it does combine with the other games in the series, which I think combined make it a better game. I really like the first and the last in the series, and the first one in particular offers cards, and if you combine it with the second one, you're using those cards to do your trade actions as well as the map, so it adds a lot of interesting choices where you're building your own hand of cards while moving around. It's really fascinating. So I really like that version of this game. So I really like Century Eastern Wonders when combined with Century Spice Road. But that's my 10th lowest rated game in the library. That's Century Eastern Wonders. My number 9 is a kids game, and this is Adventure Time Everything Burrito. So in Adventure Time Everything Burrito, your goal is to literally fill a tortilla, so that's a plastic tortilla, with goods that you find around the room you're in. So for example, it might tell you that you need to find something flat, something striped, something precious, and you got to put it physically inside of this tortilla in front of you. You win the game when you have 10 things in your tortilla and you can close it. So this game is very silly. It's not the greatest game in the world, very goofy, but it is what it is. You can't really hate this game. It helps teach things like shapes and patterns and colors and textures, so I do like it for that. Great kids game, not really one that adults are going to want to play because you got to physically get up and move around. You don't really want to play this in a house that's not yours because you're going to be rummaging through things, trying to find stuff. So it's very dependent on where you play this, but it is a very interesting and unique game in this aspect. So you're physically getting up and moving around. So I can see kids really liking this because they do get to run around and they've got a certain amount of time, and I can see adults liking it for that same reason, very party atmosphere. But for me, this game is not one that I really want to pull out because it can lead to some uncomfortable and awkward situations. And then at the end of the game, you got to put all the items back, and it's a little random for my taste, but that's number 9, Adventure Time Everything Burrito. Number 8 is Jungle Speed. So Jungle Speed is a reaction game. You're going to be having a totem in the center, and your job is to grab the totem, but you only grab it when you see 2 specific cards that match their symbols. So the cards come in all shapes and sizes. You have special ones that do things when they hit the board, and then you have these cards with lots of symbols on them. So your job is to match the symbols. Now here's the twist, and where it gets a little tricky, is some of these cards, the symbols, are extremely close to what they're supposed to be. So you might grab them on accident, and it leads to some really funny moments and really, oh my gosh, moments. So that is why this is in the library. People really like it for that reason. It's fun, it's straightforward, it's very goofy, it's very much that reaction style game where you're waiting for things to come out. Now, this game can be very frustrating for new players, and this has one of those learning curves where if you're really good at this game, you're going to stay really good at it, and you probably won't lose. So it's kind of hard to justify wanting to bring this out, especially if people know they're going to lose. So that's kind of why I don't really like it that much. You can also hurt yourself when you play the game. When you're reaching for the totem, you might grab it, and if somebody has longer nails than you, they're going to dig into that skin. Ugh. So it could lead to that as well. So just be careful. So be cordial when you play this game. But a lot of people like this, particularly kids, really enjoy this game. It makes a great drinking game. If you are inebriated, this might be a lot of fun. But very, very interesting little game. This is Jungle Speed, my number 8 on this list. Number 7 is a very popular game, made millions of dollars, and this is one that is a little bit too random for my taste, but I love the art style, and that is going to be Exploding Kittens. So Exploding Kittens is a game by the Oatmeal with some very interesting expansions that are going to include components like this cone of shame. If you're the person who forgets whose turn it is, you got to wear this thing as a public reminder that you weren't paying attention. You're probably on your phone. So that's kind of funny. They have these little gimmicks that you get to play. I'm going to take this off though. But all sorts of weird components, and it doesn't fit into the core box, so we've got ours in a Yu-Gi-Oh box. But the game itself is by the Oatmeal, and that's really going to be the biggest draw here is the art style. So you've got all of these beautifully illustrated cards. I don't know if I would say beautiful, but very goofy and very stylized cards that you're going to be pulling from a deck in the middle. However, when you pull an Exploding Kitten, you're going to blow up. And every time you blow up, you better have a defuse card, otherwise you are eliminated from the game. So you've got all sorts of different challenges that are going to face you as you play. Make sure you have that defuse card so you actually can stay in the game. But you're trying to avoid pulling these Exploding Kittens. If you pull them, you automatically lose. So this can be very lucky. Well, that's a lie. It is very lucky. On your turn, you simply pull a card from the deck. If it's an Exploding Bomb, that sucks. So hopefully you didn't. Hopefully you had the defuse, otherwise you're just out. So you could get eliminated very quickly. There is some ganging up that you can do in this game. It's very much a take that style game through and through with a lot of luck and a lot of randomness. And it's not one that I think is really that crazy good. It's not that fun. The game is more playing you than you're playing it, and it's not one I really enjoy. Now some people really enjoy this because of the art, because of that style, and it's very relaxing because you're just kind of flowing with the game, right? You're not making those interesting decisions, you're just kind of coasting. So if you're in for this very ridiculous experience, this might be a good one for you, but in my opinion, not one that I'm going to come back to. So that's number 7, Exploding Kittens. Number 6 is a small trick-taking style game. This is called Monsters. Now, right off the bat, this game is huge. It comes in this gigantic box for no reason. You've got this giant rules sheet, but really all you have is a tiny little deck of cards and a small container for your gems that you'll be winning as you play. But in this game, your whole goal is to win monster cards. So you've got all these different monsters, 1 through 5, so I wouldn't say all that different, just 5 monsters. But these monsters are going to have different gem values, and your goal is to get a certain number of gems to win, and you're going to play multiple hands, and if you're first to like 5 or something, you win on the whole game. But you're trying to get a certain number of gems, or you're trying to get a set of specific monsters. So once you do that, you win the game automatically. So you're going for those 2 win conditions. The game is very straightforward. You put a card face down, reveal it, highest number wins. But if you play the 1, you beat the 5. So it's very simple, very straightforward. Not that much strategic depth. And the game actually changes drastically when you play with higher player counts. If you're playing the cards, if anybody matches a card, those 2 cancel out, and the person who didn't match wins automatically. So it's kind of random, and that's why I really don't like it with the 3 and 4 player counts, because really people are going to match all the time, and it's just, oh, I hope I don't match this time. There's really no strategic decision outside of that. So that's why I don't really like it. You might like this if you enjoy this artwork, if you enjoy a very simple game, if you enjoy kind of very tiny decisions, or if you like randomness in your game. This is a cute one for that. So I really like the 2-player over any other player count because you are actually making those decisions. So you might like this if you're looking for a small 2-player game. So that is Monsters, my number 6. My number 5 is a classic. This is one that gets a lot of people into the hobby space, and this is going to be Cards Against Humanity. So we have the gigantic, bigger, blacker box. We don't necessarily have the biggest, blackest box yet, but this one is just fine for what we need it for. This is chock full of cards with rude phrases and terrible things on them. It's got exactly what you would expect. This is a fill-in-the-blank style game with a judge, where the judge is going to play a card, and your job is to give them something to fill in that blank. And they pick which one's the best. So the reason I don't really like this game is because it is very much dependent on the cards you draw. You can get some bad ones that people just don't find funny, and bummer, you're gonna lose. So that's not very exciting. And to get new cards, you actually have to forfeit a point. So you give up your point that you finally got with your bad cards to hopefully get new ones. It's pretty frustrating when that happens, and really, it's entirely group dependent, and some people really enjoy this. A lot of people really like this game for just the crude humor that's involved. I mean, there's a certain satisfaction that you get when your mom or your grandma says a really inappropriate word, or somebody that doesn't say things a lot says something. So it's funny to kind of have those situations, and I can see the appeal there. I actually do like these cards, though, because I like using these cards in other games. So there are a lot of games that I enjoy that are party style, that have the players be a little bit more creative. Things like Telestrations or Monikers or Fun Employed. And that's why I like this, to have this around. So for example, if you play Telestrations with these cards or any of those games and replace the deck with some cards of mirror, you get a lot of laughs. It does turn up it to an adult level of entertainment because you're going to have inappropriate words that are being thrown around. But man, if it doesn't make for some incredibly hilarious experiences, that's why I like this collection of cards. So that is the Cards Against Humanity, the biggest, blackest box. The bigger, blacker box. Oh my goodness. All right. Up next, we have number 4. This is Bananagrams. Now, Bananagrams is a very simple game where you have all these little tiles, and each tile has a bunch of letters on it. So they're very cute tiles, very tactile game, and you're going to be matching them kind of in a little grid here. You're going to be trying to create as many words as you can to use up all your tiles. That's really it. There's nothing really crazy special about this game, in my opinion. It's a very simple word game, but I do like this game because I'm actually a teacher as well. So I teach English as a second language, and this is really helpful for teaching kids letter sounds and combinations and noticing sound pairs. So I really enjoy this game for that side of it. And maybe that's why other people like it as well. Also, some people find it very calming to just sit there with a pool of letters and something you can grab. So I can see this appeal on this. But to me, the game is just not fun. It's kind of boring. I actually prefer using it as a tool than playing it as a game. So that's Bananagrams, number 4. Number 3 is in the regular Cards Against Humanity box, but it's not Cards Against Humanity. This is going to be, we didn't play test this at all. So we didn't play test this at all. We didn't play test this either. We didn't play test this Legacies. We've got a box that's chock full of these tiny little cards. We got our rule books and our expansions, but inside we've got cards. And the cards are super goofy. You've got star cards that are going to do things when you play them. Like the title says, they didn't really play test this at all. They just have cards that do random things, like vote. Everybody votes. Then reveal this card. If more people voted yes, you win. Otherwise, you lose. So there's just really goofy things. You win card. Dinosaur. Put this in front of somebody. They die on their next turn. It's a very quick and silly game. It's very dumb, but that is the charm. A lot of people are going to like this because of just how goofy and outlandish the cards are and how they work. There's a very weird and goofy game in here that is exactly as advertised. Now, the reason that I originally got it was because of that goofy title. I had a great fun time with that first expansion, with that first experience. But the game itself, after a while, you're like, oh, this is really it. And there's not really much you're doing here. You're just getting played by the game again. One of the coolest things that I think is actually there's a legacy expansion for this game, and that has you writing on the cards, and that is bonkers fun. So if you play that with a specific group, I'd actually recommend it. I think that is the way to play this style of game because it is the most meta thing that you've ever done. It's hilarious. So I really like the Legacies version, and you might like it too. It's really goofy, but base game and its expansions, I wouldn't recommend the expansions at all. They really just add to the bloat. But I can see you really liking this game if you like a quick, goofy game. So that's my number 3. Number 2 is a game that got a lot of praise for a while, and there's many games that kind of spun off from this original design, and that is The Game. So the game has you laying cards in order from 1 to 100, and that's it. You start on 1 from one end and 100 from the other, and your job is to just lay them out and try to make appropriate stacks. Very simple in concept, and also, in my opinion, very simple in gameplay. It's not that fun. It's kind of boring. I would rather play games like The Mind or Ohanami, things that kind of take this idea and actually add something different or a twist to it. But the game itself is just really bland in my opinion. Now, other people might like this game because it is very calming. The artwork is really nice on this new edition, but in my opinion, it is just boring. I would never choose to play this game. It's not one I enjoy, but it is small. It's good for traveling, good for your pocket. It's something you might enjoy there, but in my opinion, just really boring. Not even as exciting as something like Exploding Kittens, where you've got, no idea what's going to happen. And this one, you kind of know what's going to happen. You're going to make a row of numbers. Now, number one on this list is a game I despise, and that is Ultimate Werewolf. So Ultimate Werewolf is a hugely, immensely popular game. This is a game that people love to play. They get in large groups of this, play for hours, and this game has player elimination. So I can see the appeal. I like the idea of playing with a large group of friends and kind of knowing everybody at the table and having this meta that evolves. And I can see you really like incorporating the different expansions and roles and changing up things. But for me, this game is super boring, super long, and it's going to have you sitting out for the majority of it. And it's going to really single out some people, and I don't really like that. If you play an elimination game, it should be short and quick and have you coming back in as soon as possible. That way you're actually playing. You came here to play the game, right? But in Werewolf, the Ultimate Edition here, you are going to, first off, right off the bat, you're just going to have to accuse people based on really nothing. You don't really have an idea of why they're the werewolf, so they're acting suspicious. You really have no clue. There's no real draw to get you, your suspects out in the open. It's very contrived and trivial in my opinion. It's not what I enjoy at all. Some of the expansions do fix this, like the artifacts and whatnot, but ultimately it does become just a longer, bigger, more messier game than its relatives. Now, I would recommend you play games like One Night Ultimate Werewolf. It's this experience, but in a short time period, and you're more playing a puzzle and you have more information there. So I really enjoy that. I like Werewords, 20 questions style of this game. But if you want something that's similar to this, I would pick something like Deception Murder in Hong Kong. You're still playing with two teams, but you actually have evidence to go based on. Very solid alternatives to this game, and I don't see why people still go and play this one. So not my favorite game at all, but I can see why other people like it. It's kind of a cult classic. It's one that people go, and people play games like this in elementary school. Mafia, Werewolf. This is a game that you can play without cards. So I see the appeal, but it's one that I do not agree with at all. But man, if it's going to be in the library. Now that is my list of my top 10 least favorite games that are in the SideGame library. Now, do you agree with any of my choices? What are your least favorite games that you own? Why do you keep them? What do other people see in them? I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow. We're close to that 500 mark, so hopefully we get there soon. I'm excited to unlock more stuff as we get more and more viewership, and excited to share more content with all of you. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. SideGame strong.